What's going on, everyone? We're back.
The sleeper has awakened.
So did you suggest total because of the 85, the 82 one, or okay?
Yeah, they called it the prophecy theme, and it's very. I mean, it's deep. It's like I think it's great music.
David Lynch Dune holdover, love it.
That would be something to see. I heard that was very interesting. A David Lynch version I've never seen before.
It's on Max. It's just right there next to Dune Part 1.
Right next to Dune Part 1, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
right
you gotta watch the 84 version.
Okay.
And then you understand why Part 1 and Part 2 are really filling in the blanks. Like we're seeing, like that's there's a lot to discuss. But if you want the abridged version, watch the original, watch the 80s one, because that'll give you the story. But then with this new, where they're going into deeper into the books, there's a lot. There's a lot there.
Well, I guess we'll see. We'll see.
I'm interested to talk about this, guys. I'm excited. This is one of those, this is like one of the tentpole sci-fi book franchises. It's right up there with the Foundation set from Asimov and anything out of
2001: A Space Odyssey.
Up there with the Ray Bradbury stuff. This is like an all-time great. And welcome today to NCFS. I forgot, Trent, that this is not Carbonite.
I'm just here.
Sorry about that, guys. So that explains the slow start. So welcome to NCFS, Nerd Cycle Comic Flick Show. We are the nerds, and we're here to talk about Dune Part 1, Dune Part 2. I'll take my rightful place in the top left for NCFS. So we are here to talk about Dune, which is based on the novel by Frank Herbert. Very, very exciting. Dune Part 2 coming out here. Dune Part 1 on Max. Also the David Lynch old school Dune. So I am kind of stoked to go back and watch that now. I haven't seen them adapt this. Everybody has seen Dune that is here. I'm saying that to the audience and to everybody on the panel. So we are loaded and ready to go, as we do on Nerd Cyclopedia podcast. Though before we get started, really we want DP to go ahead and take us through where to find us in our contact stuff.
All right, nerdcyclopedia.com, people, your favorite website. You will get all your favorite social media platforms at Nerdcyclopedia on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and also on TikTok. If you're listening to us on podcast, we are on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast, we are there. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, thank you. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, hit that notification button, so anytime that we're on, you know that we're on. We're also streaming this on our Star Wars feed. We're normally Carmanac Bounty BS with us for and everything, but we're on the NCFS feed. So, but if you're watching us on Carmanac Bounty BS, make sure that you are subscribing. Make sure you join the group and everything. We talk about everything Star Wars on that group. So make sure that you guys join that and also share it. So we definitely appreciate that. If you want to leave us some feedback, we're at nerds at nerdcyclopedia.com. If you're wanting to just leave us some feedback, we love getting that from you and also spin it right back out to you.
Awesome. As always, great job letting everyone know where we are. Gentlemen, this is maybe one of the coolest sci-fi movies I've ever seen in my entire life. Dune 2. I mean, my first impressions of this is,
before you get into that, can I tell you about my experience?
Yes.
My theater experience last night. Okay, because I seen Dune the night before, so I got prepared for it. The Villeneuve. How you pronounce his last name? Villeneuve.
Villanueva.
Okay, sorry if I butchered your name there, buddy. But I watched the one before, and then went to the show last night. IMAX feature and everything. It was nice and glorious and stuff. Don't you know the show started at 8:20? Okay, so the you get the previews and all that stuff. The movie didn't start until 9 p.m. People.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot in front of that movie.
Minutes of previews,
Mm-hmm.
15 trailers, and they show Ghostbusters trailer twice. Are you serious?
That's not unusual
we
for a
just,
movie.
We just talked about that.
That is unusual to show a trailer twice.
Wasn't the same trailer.
Movie. It
Did
wasn't
you get
the
your
same
Did you
trailer.
get your 10 minutes of Maria Menounos and her movie trivia?
That was before 820 there, T. Mitch.
It's always that movie trivia is always the worst. It's always
Kidman.
like that movie trivia is the worst. It's always like it's like he's traveling through time, Marty, and then like blank. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're gonna like no one's ever gonna get this wrong.
No one's ever gonna figure that one out.
I heard murmurs going through the crowd. They was visually getting upset because there was so many trailers before the movie. They wanted to get the show on. Everybody was pumped. The place was packed, so everybody was there to see Dune. Obviously, you couldn't wait for it to come on, but it was just getting, as each trailer was going, it was just, okay, when is this? Are they showing really another trailer again? I could not believe I sat through 40 minutes of trailer.
Ooh.
And then another 2 hours and 46 minutes. So the movie,
that's a long movie.
Ended until like about 12:30. I mean, about 11:30, quarter to 12 for me and stuff. But
way past your bedtime.
It way past. It was a glorious experience. I was not sleepy throughout I didn't feel like the 3 hours. It was just, go ahead, Steel City. I mean, I interrupt you, Thunder. I will get to my take in just a moment, before my guy, the says his thing. After my guy says his thing.
I mean, listen. I was just gonna say this is one of the coolest looking sci-fi movies I've ever seen, and I really love the way they sold certain elements that are somewhat goofy. I kind of even like the way they showed Jessica kind of assuming the mantle of the Reverend Mother and how that really messed with her kid, and I enjoyed that portrayal. But man, all the combat was really awesome, and they let Gurney Halleck actually play his bass / electric, which was near and dear to my heart. DP, what did you think about? What did you think about this? I know you've got some momentum. Let's see where you're going to take us.
I do. I'm kind of like in that bag right now and everything. I'm trying to think of a movie that I've had a great visual experience since Endgame, that gave me that feeling of like, man, I mean, I'm seeing like some really good stuff, and majority of it happened in the desert, the sand and everything, I guess you wouldn't even call it the desert. It was sand dunes and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
It was visually spectacular. And the pace of it was great enough to where you knew where all your characters were, you knew what their motivations were, and the sound design. I mean, the IMAX sound design just made everything just hit. As if you want to talk about a visual and a sound experience hitting both of you at the same time, Chris Nolan will be so proud, because this is cinema. This is what you call a grand cinema experience. Is what you don't get, unfortunately, all the time and everything. And it comes from like a great director, great, artist and everything, who took the time to put effort into a blockbuster. I mean, we got like all types of grand like actors in this movie and everything. We got Dave Bautista, we got like Timothy Chalamet, we got like Javier Bardem, we got he was in the last movie. Jason Momoa was in the last
Skarsgård. Stellan
Skarsgård.
Skarsgård.
Skarsgård and everything.
Oh, man.
We got Zendaya. We got the guy
Elvis.
that played Elvis and everything.
Austin Butler.
Rebecca Ferguson.
Yeah,
I mean,
right. She's really coming hot. She's coming
so
hot.
many great actors, so much of a great visual experience. And how about the characters, the costumes? I love like the blotted, things where the bad guys were, and it just sent so much chills through you when you saw them in the army in their army poses at the on their planet and everything, and how they were just getting set and ready for war and stuff. It was such a grand experience. It was better than the first one, and the first one was very good. The first one was very good. It's a great experience when you could see both of these back to back. Is what my experience was when I watched the first one the night before, and then went to go see this like the very next day and everything. So it completed and I'm like, okay, it's more coming up after this. The surprise at the end and everything. It's like, oh, geez, we gotta wait how many more years for another one? And I text you guys in the chat. It's like, I wonder what this show is going to be like. The Max show. I mean, what is that going to cover? I want more now.
Right.
T-Mitch, what are your first thoughts? I mean, this is one of the coolest movies ever, right?
I agree. And I said this kind of off camera with Hitch, so I'll let you guys lead with. I'll lead with this. Like, based on seeing this, I'm just going to say this up front, right? Disney, Marvel Studios, Lucasfilm, you have nowhere to fucking hide anymore. Like, seeing this, like me and DP has talked about this in our other reviews on the Nerd Cycle. Like, I don't want to hear the excuses anymore. Visually stunning movie, great paced. Similar to you, DP. I saw it actually at 10 o'clock, so I actually didn't get home till like 2, and I wasn't tired. Like, believe it or not, it was so good. Like, sometimes your eyes.
Yeah,
I mean, it's one of those things.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was like my senses, right? Because of the brightness, because of the colors, like
sound.
it was never. Yeah, the sound. It was never
Right.
dark, right? The sand dunes, like that, like opaque view. It really made what they did with the Mandalorian, like, and they've taken that soundstage to like another level. I mean, I granted some of this was actually shot on actual sets, but like, I mean, yeah, it was just like, phenomenal movie. The second one was great. First one was good. Second one was great. I mean, this is just like levels, right? It's leveling up, leveling up. Unfortunately, we only have one more. Hopefully, we get it within the next 4 years, not 5. But when I saw it, because I went on after I watched it and Googled like Dune 3, and I saw like kind of estimations and where the director said he wanted to do it, and he said like 7 years, and I'm like, bro, there's no way. So hopefully, it's within like keep it hot within the next 3 to 4 years. But yeah, I'm just ready to discuss this with you guys because this was something that was great.
Mm-hmm.
What
Yeah.
about you, Ken?
Yeah, so what I enjoyed both about part 1 and part 2, right, was that they dug into the details more, and they explained a lot more about like what was really going on, and the point of the symbolic aspect of Arrakis and the worms and the spice. And it was interesting that they really sold me on the idea that the Fremen were both more in part 2, though, because it got into a little more detail. The Fremen were, trying to protect this spice. I think that was missed. That was something in the book that the Fremen this was valuable to them. Like they're like any older culture that kind of has a sort of a symbolic aspect to their beliefs, like their religion. The spice is their religion. It provides them with special abilities. It gives them, it's an hallucinogen, so it helps them see things, see deeper into things, and kind of live their life. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that they are this dug into that a little bit more. By far, my favorite stuff was seeing Giedi Prime and the Harkonnens in their element, because in the book you got this the 84 movie kind of did it, and it was kind of funny. It was kind of haha, these really disgusting people, and they're really weird and like kind of fetish. But it was more than that. They were a war-based society, and they were sort of burned by their black sun. I mean, who ever heard of a black sun? But then you saw it. You saw what happened, and everything was like black and white because they had this black sun. I thought that those scenes were probably the most beautiful in IMAX that I have ever seen on a screen in my life. Love the character fade. Love the way he you know, it was originally done by Sting, which was cool and all, right? But this guy, and I don't know what the actor's name is. I know he played Elvis, and I was like, I recognize that guy, but he did an excellent job of the favored nephew of Baron Harkonnen. And just like you were saying, DP, all these actors really like took this with pride and paid a lot of attention to how these characters should be interacting with each other. I could take Dune all day long. I mean, it's a great story. And that's the other thing we have to remember. We're talking about a very, very good story with a lot of great stuff. So, you know, it's I don't want to say it's easy, but it lends itself to do this. And they can do it a lot of different ways because it's such a great story. But I loved it. I saw it in IMAX too. Over at the Lowe's on the waterfront. It was packed house, spectacular. Lots of trailers beforehand. I don't remember seeing Ghostbusters twice, but I would take Ghostbusters also all day long.
Oh my god!
But beautiful film.
1984.
And what I really liked, this is like a Rogue One New Hope moment. Like part 1 matched up to part 2, like at the beginning. They didn't drop a beat. It wasn't like it was like 1 year later. You know, it was like right where part 1 ended is where part 2 picked up, which is completely natural. So I dug that.
And let me ask you guys, like, how's everybody's familiarity with the books on this? Because I have gotten like 3/4 of the way through this guy right here, and I have not finished it. Are you guys readers as well, or have you never?
I've read all 4 books back in the day. So all the way from Dune, God Emperor, Dune, Children of Dune, and then the 4th one, I can't even remember what that was called. So I read them all.
Okay.
Okay. And it really gives you this whole, like, you want to talk about a galactic story. I mean, this thing goes thousands of years from the beginning to the end of you know, the whole cycle of this story.
It's so interesting how, like, the book itself has a glossary of terms that are sort of unexplained. Like, and it's just like, it's like, here's a there's something called the Butlerian Jihad, which is like this crusade to eliminate all artificial intelligence. And they just kind of mention it, and it's not. And then the first book, it's not even really a thing, except you're like, why doesn't anyone have a computer? Like, no, there's no computers anywhere, right? So that's kind of weird. You were talking about Jedi Prime, Ken, and I this is my favorite sequence in this piece too. And Jedi Prime is like this terrible, awful place to live. It's like a hellish hellscape where everybody's like, you know, albino and bald. I was reading they shot that in infrared. It's like security footage to make it look so weird. I thought the Harkonnens, I thought they did such a good job making them grotesque and decadent in a way, like, and Caligula-ish is a word I just made up. Caligula-ish.
Different. Like, you think a species, or, you know, a living beings on another planet would have to be completely different than anybody else. So, I mean, that just made sense if they were albino, bald, and kind of burnt out, and really, 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 really angry. I mean, these are like some of the most angry humanoids.
They just have like miserable, you know, like I'm watching, looking at the crowds, and for whatever reason, I'm just thinking like, okay, well, after these ceremonies are done, where do these people go, and what do they do for, like, you know, I guess, you know, what are their I mean, do they have families? Like, you know, what are their daily lives like when this is going on?
Take off the road warrior, you know, shoulder pads.
Hang them up on the mannequin.
Oh, it was a tough day out there screaming about the Baron. You know what I mean?
Seriously,
Right.
like
It was
what do we do?
Out
it was
there in that stick.
yeah, very Mad Maxish. I like that. Very
Very.
Mad Maxish.
We got a
Yes.
I
Mad
like
Max
how they
figure, too.
Right.
I like how they leaned into the grotesquerie with the design of the architecture too. How they're that huge. They have the Baron perched upon this enormous plinth that's like 300 feet
Mhm.
high, and he's just staring down all like this huge length. And it's like the ultimate version of when you're doing a negotiation, you make sure your seat's like an eighth of an inch higher
Than
than the other
anybody else.
person, right? Uh, it's just so crazy. And speaking of the Baron, what was that like respirator that was following him around? Was that because of the assassination attempt? Was I reading that right? I couldn't really find any information about that. What did you guys think?
As I understood it, Stan, the Baron always has some extra. Like he always has to have some extra respiration or
Right.
something cleaning his blood. Getting the contaminants out of it. So there's always something extra going on. The assassination, I think he was. It was resolved in his oil bath or
Yeah,
whatever.
that's his back to tank, his little
This
Yeah.
disgusting black, which I think originally was actually blood. That my impression. He would be bathed in blood, and he was sort of showering himself in the blood of the sort of other odd, people that he decided to like murder. He would collect their blood and bathe
like his
himself.
nephew. How weird is he, man? What in the hell?
You talking about Fade?
Yeah, bro. How do you like slash people up like that? Like, bro, he's stone cold, like for like, and he wasn't necessarily like a villain, but like, bro, he
Harsh.
was
You
like,
don't think he was
yeah.
necessarily the villain?
I mean, he
I
was the
thought he was
villain.
very necessarily the villain of
He
this
was the villain of the
particular piece.
movie, but like, you know what I mean? As far as his like
His
the
president?
character, his presence, he wasn't necessarily like, he was just leading out, roll his orders.
Yeah, he
And
was he was he
very,
was a soldier.
I
I
mean,
thought,
his uncle sold him out. He tried to get him killed
yeah, he
on his
was.
birthday. Come
He,
on,
he,
man.
he,
Bitch,
he
how
was
would you like that
How would I like it if my uncle tried to kill me again? I don't
on
know.
your
I probably
birthday?
wouldn't be.
On your birthday, like,
Not my birthday again. Every single time.
I mean,
He was-
Raban was more of a villain. I
Yeah.
mean, he was more
Yeah,
of like
yeah.
the one that was gonna try and he was this muscle. He just wanted to crush
don't know.
people. He would just
I feel like
tear people apart.
anytime you have someone callously murdering, you know what I mean, murdering people, which is what he started doing. Like, let's test and see how sharp this is. Like, what?
exactly.
Like, that's
Yeah.
just a bizarre and evil, callous disregard for life and death of your, of slaves, like your property. First of
Yeah,
all,
and he was given an impossible job too. He was given this job to subjugate and control a planet, an entire planet where the people, the locals on this planet were completely hidden, and they have no idea about anything about these people. I mean, the Fremen were, as they said, vast numbers.
they have no clue, right? That's
No idea.
so. There's like a bunch of stuff that's like, and I was telling my wife when we went to see this, I was like, I've read that it's best if you just assume this all makes sense, like in the end, right? So there's some stuff where I think book reading does help, right? What they're doing with the House Atomics, and all that stuff out in the desert with the worm water, is definitely like just crazy stuff. It just struck me as like insane. It is just like crazy where they were making the water of life by drowning the worm. Like that whole scene was just was just
well,
nuts.
to extract it from the worm. Yeah, they had to drown it. I mean, I don't think they killed it because the worm is a religious mantle for them. They wouldn't harm the worm. So I don't think they drowned it, but I think they had to go through this sort of ceremony to extract the water of life.
So you think it's like catch and release?
Yes. I don't think that a Fremen would harm the worm in any way.
Huh.
I don't think that's.
I just assumed that the worm died because
Yeah.
because they extracted the the blue Kool-Aid out of the
Kool-Aid.
Blueberry.
out of the worm, the food poison and everything. That was freaky,
This is adult Kool-Aid.
Yeah. Babin was cold, man. He just snapped and was just like, just smashing people's heads and stuff. Whenever he got angry, he was, pulled out his inner Drax. I mean, I guess that's where the dark side of Drax comes out. From like Guardians and everything. This is like the opposite end. And I heard he really doesn't want to play these type of characters anymore. But in this movie, he made so much sense. Babin being, Bautista being Babin, in this movie, and his step up from what we seen him in the last movie and stuff. It was a little different, and he was more of a main character, with in this particular version and stuff. But yeah,
I liked how they illustrated that he was not gonna, that he was being set up by the Baron, and then like he comes out and he's like screaming Monty. They just like it's like Monty 316 says I just whooped your ass, and he's like flying back like within like 2 seconds, right? Awesome stuff. I like that Raban is like the like a sacrificial lamb, like what I mean. Like the Baron's like I'm just gonna leave you to fail, and I just think that's awesome.
Yeah, so he was definitely given the short end of the stick. Yeah.
So am I to believe that okay, this is basically so we're seeing like Paul is like the hero and everything, the savior and stuff, the one
Messiah.
Keanu Reeves.
So are we like is he making his villainous turn? Is he slowly transitioning to someone who's because a lot of the events that happen at the end, with him taking the wife of the emperor, and the daughter of the emperor, and taking her as the wife, and obviously, if he wanted to actually make a change and make a difference and be somebody who, is not following like the traditions or whatever, he would have went with Zendaya, I would believe, character and stuff.
Well, there's a lot to go on that. That's not where it ends.
Yeah. I obviously I don't know, how the story goes and where it goes after this and everything. But I thought it was just interesting that he didn't go that direction, but he did sort of pull, leave a smoking gun when he said to her, "It's like I'll love you till the day I die" or whatever, he said or whatever, So you sort of knew that it was going to be something that was going to separate them two, and he had some sort of plan in his head and everything, I didn't necessarily like the fact that Fayed had to die, with them two going at it, because I thought he was going to be like a main antagonist going forward, because of course it's going to be like, sequels from here, but they end up battling. I knew those two was going to go at it, and they had like a really decent battle and stuff. Of course, Paul wins. Paul's like that Mary Sue and stuff. He just gets everything, everything. He gets it all for him.
That's true.
In the first rendition of the story, Fade's death scene is much cooler.
Really,
go back and see it because he uses the voice without the emulator to destroy him. And it shows this what this power was, and that Muad'Dib does not need. He doesn't need it. He doesn't need the emulator. He doesn't need that.
This happens in the books.
It's in the book, and it was shown in the first.
Do it in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, that would have been what?
Because he says the word. He says his name, Muad'Dib. And it crushes his organs and it destroys the floor beneath him, and it's legit. Like, I thought that's the only thing, like a simple like a knife wound. It did that he didn't go the way I thought he should have gone.
That's how they take Sting out. They just crush everything.
He crushes. He explodes his organs and blows his eyes out, and it blows a hole through the floor. I mean, it's intense, and and Stilgar's in the background, like he doesn't need the I forget what they call that thing, the sound they're wearing it around their neck.
Whatever, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't need it, and because he's
Yeah.
the hand of God now. I mean, that's the thing. Like Paul now is like like you said, he's the Messiah. He's the hand of God, and he's the most powerful living thing in the universe. And he has to get the emperor out of the picture. So the easiest way to do that is to marry his daughter. And I think Chani will understand that. I mean, she will, but it doesn't really go the way you think it's going to go.
Nothing does for these guys.
And Christopher Walken as the Emperor of the Known. I mean, that's legit. I mean, here's like a really classy actor that's played a lot of different characters, and here he is now in control of the entire universe. And we all love our emperors, right? We love our emperors who have their own agendas and they live in the shadows.
They're
and we
quirky.
All quirky,
Dominating the universe.
Yeah, and he
running the prison planet of Seleucus Secundus.
Even at the end, he's still defiant. He sees his entire reign just crumbling in front of him, and he still won't give up. But he does eventually. He does. But that's a great scene. Just in the in that throne room that they're in, that whole scene at the end is spectacular. I can't wait to see this thing again. Own it. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's an ultimate IMAX experience. I'm so glad I got to see it. That and with the sound and everything. Go ahead, T. Mitch.
No, I second that. I mean, like this movie and kind of like the thumbnail on the bottom, like it's eerily similar to Star Wars. Like, Well, put it this way, I don't want to hark on Star Wars being a bad project, but this is what I wanted to see when we go outside of Tatooine, outside of these major cities, right? When we were in maybe in the desert of Tatooine, maybe you know what I mean? Like this is what I wanted to see, more kind of outlawish, more rugged stuff. I feel like this is like the gritty version of Star Wars, right? I mean, it's very similar as far as character setup. You have the Empire, you have the sisters, like this coven, this almost like the Night Sisters, right? So very eerily similar how they have character setups, factions set up, similar to Star Wars. Really like the kind of vibroblades they use as well as for the armor and protection. I like that. Whatever that shield technology is, some kind of like vibroblade that causes them to repel things, but very similar to Star Wars, so I can see maybe why I guess hardcore Dune fans pre-Star Wars may feel a certain way, but I think there's a space for both of them. This would be like I guess the rated R version of Star Wars, so to speak, or
sure.
Yeah, or Star Wars really outside of the city, outside of Tatooine, really outside of, you know what I mean? This is like I said, more that Star Wars Outlaw, maybe that Jude Law show that they were thinking about doing. But like I said, based on seeing this, they might want to just cancel that project.
Yeah. If you draw similarities between the story Dune and Star Wars, I mean, you have to say that, as Mr. Johns pointed out on our Facebook page, Dune was published in 1965. So, but the stories that influenced both of these guys, Frank Herbert and George Lucas, were written decades ago. I mean, but way before anything. So, and they both pull from very similar, inspirations. I think the biggest difference is Dune kind of built itself on all these 60s science fiction writers. They looked at reality and things that were around them to write the stories. George wrote a story that was very unreality. You know, it was very. I mean, think about it. Star Wars has all the technology and the ships, and you know, they're very metal, a lot of metal. Dune was real human. Like you could see where the witches were sort of like you see, like they were like almost Arabic in nature. Like it was all real stuff. It was stuff we could like relate to. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Whereas like stormtroopers and
technology.
It's all technology, and that's all stuff that's like, well, yeah, okay, it's cool, but we don't really see that in our normal lives. But we see stuff like we see prayer mats, and we know about you know, the different religious, you know, the rituals and stuff. We see all that in Dune, and it makes it very human. You know,
it makes it more, and I think it makes it, like you're saying, way more relatable to pull you in, right? Because it's something, it's something that almost like you can like see like eons down the road. This is almost something that you can fathomly see and be like, bro, like this is something that's like a reality almost, right? Or another reality in another galaxy. Like this is something, like you're saying, you can really clutch onto. I mean, the Star Wars stuff is more kind of like we talk about space wizardry, a lot more other elements, right? I guess the only thing I guess we're really missing on this that I didn't see, and I, you know, more near and dear to heart with Hitch is more the more pilot stuff, right? I mean, we didn't get really any ship play. Granted, the worms kind of take place of maybe ships, but you know, I just maybe wanted to see a little bit because we saw them at the end, obviously the military coming down, right? So I was just hoping to see, because based on what we have on the ground here, I was like, I'd like to see a little more visualization of like maybe like an atmosphere battle, maybe like coming into the atmosphere and them doing things, because I mean, obviously they have nuclear, you know, a nuclear arsenal, whatnot, which was really cool to see. So I just like to see a little bit more, I guess, maybe outside of the ground in really ground combat, but a little bit more in the air, just because of what they're doing. I just think they have so much more room to expand on this. But yeah, no, I'm excited for what they have to come.
We got a little bit of that from the first movie with like the you know, the pilot stuff and all that stuff, and you know, the helicopter, you know, the way the birds, I mean, they were shaped like
dragonflies.
You know, dragonflies, dragonflies, there you go. And like I said, seeing this really like back to back, I wasn't really missing that, but I see where you're coming from, T. Mitch. We got a lot more worms than we did like in the first movie and everything, and we got to see, you know, what that expansion is, and how they're able to ride. I'm like, okay, they're riding worms way more than they did like the first movie. We just got like one scene that first movie. This movie, I mean, everybody got a worm, and they're just like, you know, hopping on them like horses and stuff. Okay, like that, you know, the Zendaya at the end, she was just waiting, you know, like her train, you know, the train was coming and everything, you know,
Uber,
you know,
she got to get picked her Uber up.
She just ready to come on. I'm like, wow, okay, they got this method of transportation down pat.
The Fremen themselves are so resourceful, and I love how they convey that too. They like, all their stuff they make is perfect. All their tools are like super intricate, do exactly the thing they need to do, and they have like these secret hideaways everywhere. I just love the way they portrayed the Fremen and how they're, you know, just like terrifyingly good at ambushing these spice guys. It's just awesome.
Yeah. The talking to the baby thing was funny. You know.
His sister,
mother in there. Yeah. That was came out of okay. I didn't really see that coming, but it made sense in the context of the world that we're in. But it was interesting. It was an interesting choice and stuff. I mean, did that happen in the books too, Ken? You know, where she...
Yeah, Alea is a force to be reckoned with when she's born.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Right away.
Yeah, because she grows at a supernatural rate.
Leia? Okay, so we got like another
Alea, yeah.
Leia, okay. Oh, wow, okay.
And she's already she's already influenced by the spice because mom drank the water of life, and she immediately changed and transformed into this super being. So there's a lot. There's a lot to like kind of take in, and a lot like you said, Steel City. You just kind of accept that this is the way it is.
So what happens? So these Bene Gesserit can do a thing, and it's different in every society, but you undergo this process, and at the end you become something called a Reverend Mother, which they call her. And what that means is you have access to the memories of your predecessors as Reverend Mother, and then through them your genetic memory of the memory of every ancestor that you have forever. So when Jessica comes back from that and she seems like a completely different person, it's because she's now is a completely different person. Like she's, has access to this insane network and can find anything that's ever happened almost ever, just because of that overlap. And in her daughter, who normally you would never let this happen because you don't know. I mean, you don't know if the fetus is going to be capable of handling it. Yeah. And the other thing is that the fetus has not been tested by the Khan Jabbar. So the fetus may grow not to use this power wisely. But what happens is Aaliyah essentially achieves her adult consciousness in utero and is now a Reverend Mother now. So she gains access to the memories of all of her ancestors, including her mother, Jessica. So that's why they're so tight, is because Aaliyah doesn't have a fully formed personality yet and is being exposed to Jessica's personality constantly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she sounds like she's the only conduit to the outside, and she can only interpret what her mother sees and whatever. Since she can't herself interact with any other person or being other than her mother, she just interprets things like how she sees it, I guess, right?
But don't forget, she can remember everything that's ever happened, pretty much ever.
Crazy.
So the 10,000 years since the Butler and Jihad, everything, all the way, and in the books, this goes all the way back to Homeric epics with Achilles and Agamemnon and those guys show up. So it's crazy. And this is all a unique property of the Atreides, of that bloodline, which the Bene Gesserit talked about preserving and introducing into the Harkonnens, which is gross, but whatever. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what they thought would keep it pure, keep it
controllable.
Controllable, yeah, that's a better way to.
And the Harkonnen, you can predict what they'll do, right? It's it's predicting what a venture capital firm is going to do. The answer is always whatever makes them the most money.
Yeah, and that's that was the significance of them requiring no male babies, no Atreides male babies. They were only supposed to have a girl because they were going to wed the girl to a Harkonnen male, and that was going to keep everything under control. But since Leto, Poe Dameron, really wanted a son, Jessica went against. That was her big downfall. And I often thought, wow, I wonder why they didn't excommunicate her, just
they couldn't afford
boot her out of the club.
She was Leto's chick. They couldn't afford to isolate themselves from him.
I always think every time I watch, I think about that storyline, and man, she's lucky they didn't just because that's what that's what they would do. If you went against the hierarchy, what the higher religious power said, and they would just come and take you away. You would be gone, but they didn't, because there was this. She was going to now give birth to this super being, the brother or the sister of the Hand of God. I mean, these two are going to be able to rule the galaxy. Talk about brother and sister duo. I mean, imagine what this is going to look like, when they get into this story a little bit. It's going to be huge.
I like how this movie had a little bit more levity than like the last one. The last movie you had no moments of levity or whatever.
A lot of bummer,
You
a
know,
lot of bummers in Dune 1.
yeah, and it was sad too. You know, the way everything just went down in that first movie. This one you had Stilgar being really like the comedy relief, and if you want to call it a comedy relief, with his reactions to like the Messiah or him being the one and everything. You know, him making a comment that
it's the prophecy, it's him, and they're like, shut up,
and then Paul's
back
like,
in your tent, shut up.
Paul's like, I'm not the one or whatever, and then he's like, he's so humble, he doesn't even think he's the one and everything, he's so humble, he has to be, it was written. He kept saying it was written and everything, it was funny the way his reactions were, and the way it's such a test to a great director in the way they convey that humor in the way that they speak through like the captions and stuff, and the way that the actors, utilize that at the same time. And I mean, usually with captions and stuff and like the other language that you just never heard of, it's like, okay, but in this, the way they just combined everything, it's a testament to how they just put that all together just creatively and stuff.
I liked his reaction when Jessica was throwing up. He's like, no, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't let it go. Don't. He's like, don't. And then she throws up. He's like, ugh.
And that's because it's like that's his version of you're spending too much money. You know what I mean? Like it's expensive.
Yeah,
it's expensive.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely appreciated this movie very much as something that can turn the needle toward the series a little bit with sci-fi. There's been some tough years. That Matrix 4 didn't really pan out.
Oh my God, yeah.
Tough.
That was more self-indulgent.
Yeah.
I think that their sister needed a check, and they were like, "Hey, like I have a little project for you if you need
Oh
a couple bucks."
Let's create a way to shit on Warner Brothers, and if they're giving me the money, So,
but I definitely feel like the Matrix in this have a lot in common thematically from a style perspective, a lot in common from a standpoint of free yourself, and I think that they both kind of attack the idea of the savior and the Messiah, and I think Paul's sort of ultimate standpoint or ultimate position as far as is he this Messiah to them is if I can lead you to freedom, then I am, is what he kind of says, right? It's the proof's in the pudding, so let's go ahead and get the pudding. And then he sort of goes off to that secret mountain lair with nuclear weapons and gets the ball rolling there. What did you guys think of the spectacle of the battle scene here at the end? What was your reaction, Team Mitch?
I mean, I enjoy like ground combat. It wasn't like when I watched it, and I will say, I don't know if you guys saw it I didn't watch it in IMAX, but I watched it in like whatever it is, like the version under that, so whatever Cinemark has. There was one scene that was the CGI was really bad, and it was when the helicopters were like bombing the city. Like there was like a 5-second clip of it, and it was like video game-ish, and I was like,
yeah.
I
know what you mean. Like the camera moved around a bunch.
And I was like, bro, I don't know if they ran out a little bit of budget here at the end of the movie, but like it looked like really, really bad. But other than that, I mean, it's good to see. And this was and this is Ken's probably favorite movie, very Rogue One-ish, right? The way they stormed, the way they hit from each corner, like, and even the explosions, right? This didn't look like this looked like Michael Bay, but obviously a lot of this was digital. Like this looked really real and really authentic. It wasn't like CGI explosions, like everything. Even the combat when they were taking the ships down before we even got there, like they were hijacking things, right? This looked really like all the sets, everything, all the combat scene looked really good. They didn't look like they were shot necessarily in like a Pinewood studio or somewhere. Like they really took their time in the way they shot this, and shout out to the team who edited this movie, right? And they put this together. I mean, I can't imagine how long this would take to edit, to reshoot, to like, you know what I mean, to finalize stuff like this. But I mean, I can't imagine. Imagine if like like 8K TVs, like man, this is just like one of those things like with the lens technology and the camera technology they're shooting this in and how they can transfer it, like I
It's
don't
crazy.
think I've seen anything. Yeah, I haven't seen anything like you're saying this visually stunning from start to end.
Yeah.
Um, and there was no really blips. Like I said, other than that couple like 30-second montage of like the battle, but other than that, there was like nothing wrong at all. There is no like set place out of or it's like kind of set feature out of place. Everything like rolled together. I mean, and the costumes, we talk about that with Star Wars, right? Costumes are awesome. Like
Yeah.
great work. So this is a really polished series. Like I said, I didn't read much of the books, so I'm kind of like DP coming into this fresh from movie one to movie two. But I enjoy this. This is up there with me, as this being a Nerd Cycle comic book show with the Batman as something outside of Star Wars. That is a very very good project, and
That's that's
like I,
that's
like
a
I,
really yeah, that's a really good that's a really good. I mean, because I'm trying to sit here thinking about a movie that if we talk about like the Marvel movies, Star Wars movies and
yep,
stuff, this being like similar, about a movie being that much more mature, and what we got
right,
with the Batman being way more mature. Dark Knight and everything was good. It was great. It was actually more, mature, but I don't think it's mature as the Batman was.
no,
Batman was just like, whew, okay, you're going there. This here, this Dune is like that. It's that Star Wars stuff that we want. I guess as adults, kids. I wouldn't say that kids will be as I you know what? I don't know. I don't know how would kids react, to something
I
like
don't I
this.
don't
I
think
think
this
with
was
terror,
like
probably with terror. I mean, I would think the Baron alone would
right.
terrify them with those
Yeah,
respirators
I
falling
don't.
around. He's
Yeah,
floating. Why is he floating? It's so
I
unsettling.
don't. I don't think this is a very like childish. I mean, even the combat, like, bro, Paul took one to like the chest, like the
Yeah,
the the knife combat. Like, man, it was really really graphic. But it was
Very,
great.
very graphic. And I'm
Um,
a big fan of like ground wars, just
right,
infantry, like and they used swords and batons to beat each other up.
right.
I mean that it was just spectacular. I didn't see any weird like video gamey. I mean, you
I
got to
didn't
see it.
either, Ken. So I'm like, okay, what are you
It
guys
might not be
talking about? It
IMAX.
was
Yeah, there is one scene.
by me.
I might be
I
able to
missed it.
find it
I
and
must
show
have
you guys.
I must have blinked or something, but
Yeah, yeah.
the big battles, the vastness of it, and how and it captured a lot of emotion that I think we needed. I think this story needed, because you've got a lot of anger, and you've got a lot of and also a lot of emotion in these battles, because here you're going, they're fighting for the spice. That's the point of this whole thing. It's the spice is it, and the worms are one with the spice, and the Freeman are trying to balance it. And here are these houses that are just coming in, and Atreides was the only one that didn't subjugate them, said didn't try to route them out, and they build a relationship, and there's so much politics going on with the whole thing, and then you got the Emperor, and he's a real asshole. He has his own like agenda. I might have missed it. The only I we did they show a guild pilot,
No.
and that was a big miss. And now that I'm thinking about it, like in part one, you saw the entourage. They came uh to Kaladin to tell Leto Atreides that you were now in control of Arrakis. Do you accept? And it took 3 guild pilots, third stage guild pilot, to get them there, but they didn't show the pilot. So I mean, that's a big part of this story too. Is these these pilots that are able to fold space, and they were disfigured over thousands of years of imbuing the spice. They were disfigured. I mean, I wanted to see what the new take on that was, like what that looked like, but they didn't show that, and it wasn't in part 2 either.
I'd leave something on the table.
Yeah, so they're giving that's going to be like an Easter egg that we can look forward to, because man, when you see one of these guild pilots, the original were real Jabba the Huttish. That's the best way I could describe it. If you haven't seen,
I got the scene for you guys. I'll send it to you guys in the chat. It happened at 2 hours and 20 minutes. Yeah.
Hey, you just snagged that up just like that, huh? Denis.
Yeah, it happened. It happened at 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Well, I think to me this comps to the Matrix, and what I mean by that is every time I got a DVD player or sound system for a long time, the Matrix is the movie I put in to test it. And now, like you were saying, T-Mitch, like if I want to check my HDR, if I want to check my my subwoofer, I'm gonna pick this because I know, like you said, pristine, immaculate. It's gonna be crazy as I can afford to make it in my house.
Well, that's the thing about the sound design in this movie, and I can't compliment it enough. It matched the movie, and like I mean, in a lot of action movies, you do get like, explosions, and you get like, all this crazy stuff, and you're okay, that it's normal for like an action movie to have that. With this, it's like you get like certain instances where even the quiet stuff is like booming, and the way they have background stuff, if they're in a building, or if they're not in a building, but if they're in like a cavern or whatever, and you hear stuff on the outside, you hear like the outside stuff, just like, all that, like at the end where they had the soldiers on the outside, and they were coming in, the Emperor was on the inside and all that stuff. You heard all that action and stuff on the outside, and the way they made it sound, it just made it just sound like, just that perspective of spectacular stuff, with the sound design. It was just, it matched up so well, and it kept you awake. It kept you awake.
I'm saying, yeah, this is something I didn't get tired.
Movies these days have gotten so bad at that, where you just fall asleep. It's the movie's fault, for sure.
Now that you're seeing it like 10 o'clock at night, that's not bad.
I've definitely dozed on a couple movies like recently that like I typically don't, right? And I was like out, and I woke up, and I'm like, bro, come on, you know what I mean? Like, I'm that guy that's sleeping now, right?
It's the 20s. This is the sleep decade. That's just how it is. We stayed home the first. That's so sleepy that we stayed home the first like 2 years. We didn't even. No one even got up for that.
I don't even think I blinked when Endgame was on. Literally.
Oh.
I don't even think I blinked.
No.
Like I didn't even blink.
I was up the entire 3 hours. That was just.
I remember.
The comparisons is like really great for me, because I don't think I've had that excitement or that visual stimulation since Endgame, as far as that,
I remember in Endgame I had to piss like an hour and a half into it, and it was so good. I like held it, like literally, like held it like the whole back half of the movie. Like, you can't leave.
There's no pause button. You can't like.
There isn't none. Like.
And isn't that why it's terrible? Isn't that what we're trying to end? Is having the no pause button?
Well, yeah. We want to go to. I mean, because if we're talking about us going to movies and stuff, and I know you got a pass and everything, T-Mitch, because you got like a subscription or whatever, membership or whatever. But I don't go to the movies that often, when I was going. It was basically like either Marvel or Star Wars. When Star Wars was actually in a movie, it was like just basically Marvel movies and stuff, and maybe some DC stuff sprinkled in. Other than that, I wasn't going to the movies. I waited till everything came out, on the TV. This with Dune, I don't think the last time I was in the show was probably the Marvels or whatever. And this blows the Marvels out of the water, as far as that.
Okay. Hey, I just sent it to you guys in the chat real quick. Pick your phone up and look at it. And this is the scene that me and Hitch are talking about. It's like it's really bad. I was like, yo, like the explosions from the helicopter. It's the only and it literally was 20 seconds of the whole
Can
movie.
we pull it up on the you said the chat and everything, huh? Okay.
Well, not on your phone.
All right.
On
I'm not. We can watch this
We'll talk about it
off
after
chat.
the show.
We don't have to
We'll
watch.
watch
We
it.
don't have to do a couple of minutes of NCFS of us
We don't.
all
It's just
watching
fun.
our
Yeah,
phones.
right.
We're not going to do that.
Yeah,
We
it's fun.
are going to wrap up for this week, which we go about an hour. I think that's about right. I'll just say this: my final take on this is that these are awesome movies, and it's great to see this unfilmable franchise show up on the film, and I can't wait to see what franchise they some enterprising director decides to take on that and does an awesome job with. So we'll see what we get next. All right, everybody. So for me and the nerds here on this one, we just say see you later. We're done.
See you
We
later.
don't do anything special. Bye.
See.